And right now we're having a big issue with the censorship that's happening in the state below us. Virginia is doing some crazy censorship things. And there's a lot of pushback, especially here in West Virginia, where people are like, nah, we're not getting to that point where we're going to censor things yet.
Yeah. I mean, we might as well segue into the first topic from there, because that was the age verification that was passed. Was it the Kids Online Safety Act that was passed in last year?
Yeah, it was last year.
And yeah, now at least in Virginia, if you try to get on certain websites, let's say if you're trying to see some skin, you know, you got to like verify your age through photo identification now. So a lot of the stuff that you're hearing from the EU and the UK and stuff, that's already here. So.
Yeah. Like, let me give you an example. So if you're down here, we're in one of the most southern counties here in West Virginia. And so if you get on your regular internet on your phone, like just, you know, your Sky internet, your AT&T, or that kind of stuff, it'll actually think you're in Virginia, and it'll restrict you. But like if I get on my house internet, so I happen to have Suddenlink, if I happen to get on that, it still recognizes that I'm in West Virginia, so I don't have to go through those same type of verifications. And we were just doing this just to test it out, and I was shocked on just like how, like, what information they want. Like that, you have to upload an ID, and then they have to do a verification check. And I'll tell you right now, I don't care what I'm looking at the internet. If it's not crypto, I'm not giving anybody my ID, because they only need to know who I am on the internet if it deals with banking. And that's just, and I know everybody around me thinks the exact same way. And just seeing these rules come in, and then we're hearing about what's happening in the UK and hearing what's happening down in Australia. And you know, we initially saw this come out in China. What was it, in 2003? They brought up, was it the Great Firewall?
The Great Firewall, yeah. I mean, and that's been basically, it's been used as a template, you know, throughout the Eastern and Western world, more recently in the West. But yeah, the Chinese model, it seems like that's kind of where all of it's heading. And yeah, this is not this is not a good omen, especially because, I mean, the U.S., we passed the Online Safety Act. You know, Germany passed their Network Enforcement Act. They have a thing in Russia against extremist content. India's at war with X about censorship. The EU is passing their Digital Services Act. You got France. You got like all these different countries. And here's the thing, though. They're all doing it at the same time.
Yeah, that's what's interesting. It's all happening in the last year and a half. Like right now, we have a bunch of friends. My sister's dating a guy from the UK. And Discord, even if you are a paid subscriber of Discord, you're paying for your nitros, you're paying for all that kind of stuff, they still require you to update your ID for that. Well, if you're paying for Nitro, they're restricting some of your content on there. Like, that's going to be a really interesting thing. Or what's happening down there in Australia, down in Oz. We have some friends that live down that way. And they're getting to the point where even to get on YouTube, you have to prove you're 18. Like, that's getting insane.
And also, when you think about it, recently Trump, you know, he's talking about UBI straight up. He's talking about having a dividend stipend for everybody in the country, you know, based on these Doge cuts and everything, which on the surface, it sounds great, you know, like, you know, we're going to get a little extra income every month. It's probably going to affect the value of the dollar a little bit. It's going to cause some inflation, having all that extra money in circulation.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very concerned about the direction our country's going. Again, part of the reason why me and Bryan came here to Appalachia is, while I can tell you that during the Great Depression, one of the places that was hit the least was here in Appalachia because, well, we're kind of the hinterland, we're kind of the forgotten people. Now, it's still going to affect us, but we will be affected just a little bit less. And, you know, me and Bryan's talked about one of the ways that we think we're going to start counteracting some of our censorship is we've both talked about creating our own intranet. We're starting about figuring out ways to really start archiving. One of the things that we want to talk a little bit about is how you guys can start archiving some of your own things. Start
archiving things from the internet, specifically that you think are not going to be there. But I'm sorry, I drifted off there with the talking about the UBI. Okay. But the point that I was making is that if they pass a UBI, I would think that this sort of internet ID thing, I think it's going to dovetail together. There's going to be some sort of verification that you're going to have to do in order to even get the UBI. I almost feel like because these things are coming together at the same time, there's a strong possibility that they're going to be tied together.
I bet what it's going to be is they're going to try to incorporate like a digital Fed coin, and they're going to pay you through your UBI, through your your online digital currency. Because right now, like I said, I'm willing to give my ID for a digital currency. So that's already a little thing that they've been able to convince me, someone who's, absolutely very standoffish. So if they start doing that for people to start getting their free money, I could see that as a way to we need to give you you need to get your digital currency that we're giving you for free, but you're going to have to do that online. So here is the IP address. Here is the thing that we're going to need you to get. And then people are just going to naturally start evolving into that until we willingly give up our freedoms.
Well, we're, at that point, we will be in the Chinese model at that point, because just like in China, your social credit score. So here in America and probably in the West, it's going to be the type of stuff that you talk about online, or possibly what they're listening to you talk about through the microphone on your phone, which is a problem. We're definitely going to do a deep dive on the Patriot Act one day. But
yes.
Yeah, everyone's been cool with that for many, many years, and now the chickens are coming home to roost, I think. So
I think you're right. I think that there's a lot of stuff that we need to be paying really close attention. All you guys, I want everyone out there watching right now, just take next time you have a free moment. Maybe you're riding in your car to work. Maybe you're just sitting watching TV. I want you to look to see how someone's listening, watching, or advertising specifically for you. So it might be you've been talking on your phone, and then you're at Walmart, and then you leave Walmart and you come home and you see a special ad that just happens to be looking at that. These are things that you need to start paying a little attention to, because if the corporations are doing it, the governments are also doing it. And again, we're not doing crazy deep dive, anything like that. These are just very simple, basic things just to start noticing, because it starts off little. And, the government's going to market this in lots of wonderful ways. They're going to say this is going to be better for the community. It's going to be better for children. It's going to be better for everything. And while, it is actually better in some ways, but what they don't tell you is what they're going to pull at the end. And, there's a lot of times where there's a lot of wonderful things that on the surface we absolutely love. But then when you look at the ways that bad people can use and manipulate it, you have to really think. Because, bad people always find ways to manipulate even the greatest things that we see out there in the world.
Yeah, but and they, whenever there's like a paradigm shift like this with our finances, it's always a sort of a bait and switch. Like when you think of Social Security, and how at first that was voluntary and it was meant to be a retirement account. It was like a government supervised retirement account, and now it's turned into a tax that we're paying that's going towards other people that are on welfare, kind of a thing. And at the end of the day, you're not guaranteed to ever get Social Security. So in other words, Social Security from its inception looks a whole lot different than Social Security, what are we, 112 years later?
I mean, one other thing, just something else, and we'll deep dive this a little bit as well, but, with Breckenwood and then with Jekyll Island, those guys never imagined the United States and the world would get off the gold reserve. And so they were imagining they'd always be able to control, manipulate the gold and that kind of stuff. And then when Nixon got us off the gold reserve, they actually had to change up their entire game plan.